Now it's time to hear the voice of the ordinary people on what policies will inform them in selecting their preferred candidate in the December polls. It's what we call voters' voice. Today we took our microphones to the Kaneshie Market. Listen to what the people have been saying.
Hospital P. Na loma womi. Mene komo wo. Kawa honi wanana. Kawa kolo wampi. Nipi wanana. Wambo. Wabi a school. Afite school afte. Aya school kwata. Bakabi amenya ho. Amenya ho. Afite no fiano ewa. Mama neko. Secondary school, na kebe ya day, na na batampa, na kebe kwa ya hubium, na ya de wase. Asia ni kajani ase da na amu ahwade ne patenti. Na fa bumano, na bra.
Nyefa ne won pa nyefa iwa mambi. Nyefa ne ka ba fon sheki. Nyefa nyefo nya jo mama. Ajaga jo mama ne ba fe ni bi wuji school tuji agbo. Bi aneni ameke achake mi na achake mi. Bega bi na me bashi han ami fite. Bega bi fite lowo pa fai na wo vote wa jo mama. Ni jo mama ba ga ni jo mama ba. So kwa ya le to
Nana do dankwa ekufuado yada wase wate. Nana okukudrufo onyanseni nana yada wase. Wabe yebi wudi school free education o kan so waye. Efia bi wa school obi akwa secondary school wom. Enso nana waba be ye. School for my friend. Efia kwa won di sadi maako. Enso ma won krado kwa di sadi maako. Wa shankole wo school. Nana na seka wudi wate. Ya mema wa hoden. Mama onkwate. System ame let me ve kolon conversiama mi drana nu ponaga akaya akufa do vasia let me ve kolon ha mala takpono kika masasam adwa masasam tamatibade mama naga trova and they said na jaji mama la duama mama la ziaja at hospitals school anokata jijenami mafupamo you dollar the one and they said the legend tamatiba mama naga trova MPP say MPP December ne ko to agbano bia to ma ekufuadu na nyuma pa na obe oyanu no to aso no nyane school kaya for no mun ko school no mun so mun nya school ni bia de no mun ko ndache am so my president 3 ministers ne doctors for am man Ghana chobwe minua Ghana for and then me amalidia menemo kasa ababa lidia emaye blow ya brepa ya shaya ma ebi mo ekọ school ebi mo ewie nursing school ebi mo da so ekọ ebi mo so ewie secondary school what fear school no last aye ekọ no ya chia school fees so ya mane kọ amuti me wie ya say school na aye taught ya na ya do aba ya system ya pray no tesi nana de oneko nana doba mene makosia mene omosia mena meka mene ame masia mene ame masia gbawe loko ya loko ya hai moko share. Maybe I be at the school free. Il est mon connaît forte. Et puis comme le planning another, but maybe la plate. Et puis comme le plate access. Nanado, you call your name. For Nana. Yeah. Yeah. Nana, beba. Yeah. Nana.
So it's 96 days to the election, and every weekday we'll be hitting the grounds to hear from the ordinary people on what will inform them to select their preferred choice in the December polls. Now, Evans Mensah, head of our political desk here at JoyNews, he joins me with some analysis on this particular area. You just heard some market women at Kaneshie Market. Evans, the Kaneshie Market is also something, one that can be classified as cosmopolitan, because you have people from different, backgrounds, trading there. But which constituency does it fall in, and what has been the voting patterns over the year? So
this is Kaneshie South constituency, and I must declare my interest. My mom is still a trader in Kaneshie. Has been in Kaneshie ever since I was a little kid. I mean, I was born, because my grandma owns a shop there. Okay. And my mom sells in that shop as well, so just right by the street. And so I grew up in Kaneshie, because in fact, I was born in Latabiokoshi, which is not
too far from
Kaneshie.
Yeah.
I mean, to be very specific, though, I don't think it's Latabiokoshi. I think it's Abosokai, very specific, which is really right there. Okay. You know where the Abosokai roundabout is coming up, so right into Kaneshie. So I know this area very well. So the Kaneshie side is a very interesting constituency. It is a stronghold of the MPP. Okay. I mean, if you look at the data, at least since 1996 to 2016, MPP has always swept it. Okay. Both at the parliament and the presidential level. John Kufuor had the highest margin of victory in 2000 with 65% of the votes, and then in 2004 it came down to 63%. Nanado in 2016 won it by 61%. I mean, and he improved it from his own performance in 2012. Right. So this is a safe seat for the MPP. The question becomes, if you look at the history, the question becomes what are the margins of victory there? As you heard, for me, it's clear that what is going to play out in the minds of these market women in Kaneshie will necessarily be two things. From what we're hearing from the voices, from the voters' voice, you see the group that believes free SHS is a key issue for them, and also they're asking for you to vote for Nanado. Right. And then you see the group that is asking for John Mahama to return. Exactly. They're extolling his infrastructure record. Yeah. So you see going into these elections, and again, if we go back to the Mokala voters' voice, same issues play out. The infrastructure versus free SHS debate. Whereas for the market woman's point of view, infrastructure appears to be the strongest suit and strongest point of John Mahama. From those who support Nanado, they see the free SHS as his strongest point. One other thing that came up that the market women who were supporting John Mahama mentioned was the fact that they are not able to get repaid the loans that they were able that they contracted earlier on before this current government came into power, and so that they see that as a negative against the current administration. So that is going to be important, because let's look at the demographics of Kaneshie, and just a little bit of history. Kaneshie in Ga means under the lamp, right? So Kaneshie, like under the lamp, and it started off as a night market. Okay. So people sold under the lamp. Okay. You know what I mean? Okay. So it was called. So I'm going to, instead of course they couldn't say I'm going to the night market. Yeah. They say I'm going to Kaneshie. I'm going to the place where they study under the lamp, where they sell under the lamp. Exactly. Minya Kaneshie. Okay. So eventually became the Kaneshie. So this is a predominantly market-driven, traders, people who you won't consider them as your literate elite class. These are, the masses, if you may. And this area, if you look at the MPPS against the NDC seem to appeal more to this kind of demographics when in terms of elections. But if you put in the general context of Kaneshie South, Kaneshie has over the years sort of changed in its demographics. So it used to be, as I said, purely market, but there are residential areas all around it now coming up, in the close to Kaneshie. People say, I live in Kaneshie. It didn't used to be like that. That is going to play a part in making a decision. Okay. And if you see the votes for the MPP, it consistently has been going up and down. When they win power, they get higher votes in Okankwe South. Okay. When they lose power, it drops, but they still win. Okay. Okay. They drop into the 50s. Okay. Okay. But when they win, they go into the 60s. So Kufuor won in 2000 with 65%. As I said, it won again when they were turning point in 2004 with 63%. Nana won again 61%. When they're losing, they come into the 50s. Okay. Okay. So it's going to, that sort of, you just watch that and see what is happening. So if elections are coming up and you're watching a Okankwe South election results come in the 50s, the history says something's going to happen in the long run. So that for me is an interesting dynamic to look at in terms of the demographics because of the point you made. If the market men are not able to pay up loans and it's an issue for them, some of them have had monies locked up in the collapsed, financial sector cleanup issues. That is going to be one thing that could affect the MPP's chances because these are people who traditionally have voted for them over the years.
All right, many thanks for that analysis. Evan Spencer is head of our political desk here at JoyNews.